Good morning. So I'm 41. For 40 years, God has been preparing me for today. For 40 years, He has been teaching me what it means to love, what it means to be a Christian, what it means to forgive, what it means to follow Him. And today, I'm going to try to explain it in a tangible way because it took me 38 and a half years to figure out that I was doing it all wrong. That I was the villain. I was the accuser. I was the one that was persecuting Christians. It was me. The whole time. It was me. I'm the enemy. Nice to meet you. If you prefer, you can call me Satan or Lucifer or whatever name you feel like giving me, but today I am something different. I'm born again. I am a new creation, and I know how God did it. I know how He made it happen. He fixed me. It took Him 38 and a half years, and He fixed me. Once He did it, I asked Him how He did it, and He spent the next year and a half showing me how He did it, delivering me of everything that I've ever been afraid of. You see, that's how it started. I became afraid. And you're not supposed to be afraid. Do you get that? You're not supposed to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid of anything. And our lives are filled with all of these things that we're afraid of. We get up in the morning and we get frustrated, we get anxious, we get irritated, we get all of these things, and it's us being afraid. And God showed me that there's a progression. You can troubleshoot your own fear because it's not complicated. It's not evil. It's not good. And when we get afraid and we look at it in terms of good and evil, it breaks us. It creates suffering. Yoda said it best. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. And hate leads to suffering. Now, typically that's how it goes. Once you understand the process of fear and anger and all of that, and you don't look at it as evil, you can look at it with different eyes. You can go, okay, why is this here, Lord? If fear isn't evil, well, why is it here? What's its purpose? What does it do? And He explained it to me. He showed me how it works. See, when you get to a moment, let's say I want to go to a movie, but I have so much social anxiety that I'm afraid. I'm afraid to go into that room with so many other people. Now, why are you afraid? Well, like I said, social anxiety. Where did this social anxiety come from? The social anxiety is the fruit of your fear. The social anxiety is your suffering. Now, why do you have social anxiety? I have social anxiety because I was traumatized in my past by this person and this person and this person. And when I'm out in public, I believe that I'm not safe. So your suffering comes from what you believe. You see, I believe I'm not safe in this movie theater, therefore, my belief makes me afraid to be here. Now I've identified I'm afraid to be here because my fear leads to anger. And that anger is the anxiety. It's the frustration. It's the, get me out of here. That's fear. That's anger. And your body's trying to tell you something. It's trying to tell you one of two things. Either you shouldn't be there, or you're looking at it wrong. You're not believing God. God says you're okay to be there. It's safe to be there. You don't have to live your life based on how they treat you or how they feel about you. You get to live your life based on what God says. So your belief that you're not going to be safe makes you afraid. That afraid makes you angry or frustrated or anxious or whatever you want to call it, which leads to hate. I hate doing this. I don't want to do it anymore. I hate it. I just, get me out of here. It leads to hate. And that hate is the cause of your suffering. It's very simple. And that's the way it works. It just always works that way. Now, what happens if you do believe God? Your fear shifts. It doesn't go away. It shifts onto the Lord. I'm afraid that if I don't go and listen to God the way he says he's going to do it, that I'm not going to be in the right place. I'm more afraid to not go out than anything. Now my fear makes me angry at the people that cause this kind of anxiety, that cause this kind of frustration in others. And now I'm angry at all of these people for putting this person in so much social anxiety that they can't even go to the movie theater. So now my fear is different. I can see what caused it. I see all the trauma that causes social anxiety, and it makes me angry because my fear is on the Lord. Because I believe you shouldn't treat people like that. My belief dictates my fear. See, and my fear of the Lord makes me angry because all of you are persecuting and accusing to the point that this person can't even leave their house? How dare you? So now I get angry, except my anger leads to hate. I hate that you guys do that to people. I hate it. Me, this Christian guy, I hate the sin that causes social anxiety. I hate the trauma that comes into people's lives that causes it so that they suffer like this and they don't know how to get out of it. I hate it. It makes me angry. And at the culminating point of my hatred, you know what I do when I hate someone? When I hate something? When it's so bad that I can't stand it? I forgive them. Because the fear of the Lord leads to forgiveness every single time. But the fear of anything else leads to suffering every single time. So if you can find your suffering, you can identify your hate. And if you can identify your hate, you can figure out what made you angry. Because anger or frustration or anxiety causes that hate. And if you can identify that you're angry, you can figure out what you're afraid of. And if you can figure out what you're afraid of, you can start believing God. And if you start believing God in everything, you get born again. You take the entirety of your life and all of the trauma that came into your life, which is causing these things, and you go, Lord, I've learned how to live wrong. My whole life, I have been this guy that sees the things that he hates, and he accuses them, and he crucifies them. That's me, Lord. I was that guy. And whenever I saw something that I hated, that made me angry, I would cut it off from my life, and it usually meant relationships. It usually meant people. And a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, God changed my mind, and I realized I shouldn't be doing that. I became born again. I took everything that I had learned in the past, and I said, my entire belief system is wrong, Lord. My whole life I thought I was right, but my entire belief system is wrong. I need to start over. I need to start looking at every situation, every moment from your perspective. You can do that today. It's very simple. Lord, I'm sorry for the way that I believed. I'm sorry that I didn't notice sooner how much I was the accuser. I'm sorry that I didn't realize that everything I had been taught in life was built around this concept of good and evil and what's right and what's wrong, and it's not about that. It's about looking inside and going, Lord, you didn't call me to be afraid of anything. And every time I feel afraid, every time I feel anxious, every time I get worried, Lord, I want to look to you. And I want to know the way you want me to do it. I want to be born again. I want to start over. Today, Lord, today, I give my life to you. I surrender and I yield. And I say, whatever you want, Lord, is what I want. And every moment from there, every moment after you say that, every moment after you invite him in and give him your everything, every moment after that is from him. Just like every moment before it was. Because it took every moment that you went through to bring you to right here so that you could understand that you've been doing it wrong. All of your suffering is simply punishment for sin. Because that's what sin does. It causes suffering in us. Sin is the reason, and it came to you not of your own fault. It came to you from all of the traumas in your life. And it changed the way that you think, the way that you look at the rest of this world. And you can undo that right now. I'm sorry, Lord. I did it wrong. And I need you. I need you to show me how to do this right, if you're into the right and wrong thing. You let go of your knowledge of good and evil, because everything that he brings you is meant to give you life, and life more abundantly. Now, it may look like an explosion. It may look like a mess. But if you're willing to look at it and go, Lord, you brought this to me. You brought this moment, this weird, crazy moment that I would have normally called awful. I would have normally said, this is a horrible experience, Lord. I don't want anything to do with it. Lord, I would have normally said that this is bad in my life. But I'm not going to look at it that way anymore. I'm going to look at it and wait, Lord, because you said life will come out of this. You told me that, Lord. You wrote it down over and over and over in the Bible. And I'm going to choose to believe you and not this thing that's telling me to be afraid. Because fear, when it's not on the Lord, is a liar. And you don't have to listen to him anymore.